Hey, so we're out here on the Great South Bay, South Shore, Long Island. I'm literally standing in the bay. I actually took my little skiff over to this location. Clamming is a great activity, summer, winter, spring, fall, whatever it may be. You get some fresh dinner. It's a great workout. It's really something that I suggest everybody try and do. There's a lot of spots you can try from the shore, but if you do have a little skiff, it'll extend your opportunities, give you more access to great clamming spots. We're gonna do some clamming today. So one of the most important things before you go clamming to get is your clam rake. This here is a KB White. It's an 11-tooth rake. This is your standard recreational rake. It's got about 3 or 4 inch teeth on it, which are plenty long enough to get those clams right out of the bottom. Has a little bit of a holding capacity as well. It's real easy to use. You got a wooden handle on it also. Get some leverage. This is the standard rake that you will be using to dig clams when you get off the boat or you're going from the shore. So being that the water is a little colder, it's a colder time of the year, I got myself a pair of insulated gloves. You don't want to get your hands wet and cold this time of the year. It's going to get you right out of the water. You're going to stop clamming. You're going to want to go home. So having a nice pair of insulated gloves is really important. Aside from that, I have a nice pair of waders on. These are the Frog Tog Hellbender waders. Having these and the gloves, especially during the colder months, is important. During the summer, you can get away with the bathing suit, no gloves, have a good time, that's totally fine. But we are in a colder time of the year, so having your waders and your gloves is crucial. So before you go clamming, you have to know your local and your town, state regulations. For New York State, there are regulations in effect. That is possession limits, that's size limits. Go on your NYSDEC website to get those regulations. There's also areas that are shut down during the winter months of the year or open up during the winter months of the year. So you want to keep track of that information as well. They have a nice, easy map you could use. You could check that out. Take a look at what's open and what's not open certain times of the year. Know where you're allowed to clam before you go out there because you don't want to get a ticket. Certain towns, they have their regulations as well. Certain towns require clamming permits. In my town of Brookhaven, we do not require a recreational clamming permit, but certain towns do, and in certain waters, you're also not allowed to clam if you're a non-resident. Be mindful of this, and if you do decide to go clamming in a certain location, do your research beforehand so you don't get in trouble with the law. So clamming is a little bit of a feel and a sound thing. You're going to feel the clams when you feel a little resistance on your rake, but you're also going to hear the clams scratching on the tines of your rake. It's kind of like scratching on a blackboard, if you will. You can hear them scratch on those shells. I'm working this clam. I can feel one right there. I dug that one up, popped it out. It's a little bit of both. It's a touch kind of thing. And once you get the feel of it, then you're going to really master clamming. You could try mud bottom. I don't like to clam in the grass or anything like that. So I like to stick to a sand bottom or more of a mud bottom for my best results. Now, if you are recreational clamming, you have to know that there is a limit in effect. If you're on a good spot, you could fill that limit rather quickly. The limit is 100 clams for the state of New York per person per day. You don't want to go over that limit. You want to stay under that limit or even well under it. Just take what you need for dinner. Don't go be excessive about it. Definitely adhere by that rule. Follow your limits for clamming. So the technique is pretty simple, to be honest. You're going to use your leverage with your pole, the rake head and the teeth on the rake to feel for the clams in the bottom. It's kind of like raking leaves in the yard in a way, except it's a little bit more aggressive. It's going to be a little bit more intense. So what I'm going to do is I'm holding the pole like this, one hand down here, one hand up here for leverage, and I'm kind of skimming along the bottom. There's a couple clams right there. I'm feeling them. Oh, there's one. I'm going to go back on it. There's another one. If you miss one, you can go back on it. That's the one beauty of clamming like this, is you're not going to really miss any. You can just go right back to it. And you kind of just want to rake the bottom a bit. You feel a clam, you pry it out, you get a little deeper. You can get those teeth really in there. Pry that clam out. Just move it along. When you think you got a few in there, shake it out. There's 3 right there. Little neck, top neck, cherry stone. Nice variety. So as you know, there's a bunch of different sized clams. I got 4 different sizes right here. Each of them great for a different type of meal, and that's what we're intending to do, is eat these clams. So I'm going to go over them with you. Starting with the biggest clam, we have our chowder clam, and as the name is in itself, we use these for chowders. We also use them for baked clams. Moving to my right here, we have a cherry stone clam. It's a little bit smaller. Again, you could use these in chowder, clams casino, baked clams. These are another great size clams, very popular size. They're a little less chewy than the bigger chowder clams. Top neck, very desirable clam. You could eat them raw in the half shell. You can make them into clams casino, baked clams. Again, this is a top neck size. It's one below the cherry stone. And sometimes people really prize these clams is the little neck clam. This is the smallest legal size clam that you can actually keep. These are great raw in the half shell. They have the best flavor in my opinion. I use them in the pasta with the linguine. I make these as well. It's delicious. Probably gonna make some of those when I get home today. These are the primo clam. A lot of people desire these, but do remember when you are clamming that you have to abide by regulations. So you have to measure your clams this way to this way. It has to be at least 1 inch between the hinges like that. If it's under 1 inch, that clam has to go back in the water. So for example, this clam right here, this is undersized. We're gonna put that back in the water because it's gonna grow to a legal size clam at one point. If you're striking out in one spot, say for a sandy bottom, would be a good idea to try a soft bottom. So I'm making a change right now from the sand bottom to where the soft bottom transitions. And I came across a nice little pile of clams right here. Sometimes they stack up in these little areas where the transition is, and you can really, really do very well if you find them. "12 months out of the year, clamming is a great activity. You just gotta be prepared for it. If it's cold, dress accordingly. If it's warm, dress accordingly. Go out there, have some fun, dig yourself some dinner, get a workout, go clamming.